For more than 60 years, the world has been haunted by one question. What really happened to Marilyn Monroe? She wasn't just a movie star. Marilyn was the definition of Hollywood glamour. Beautiful, vulnerable, and unforgettable. But on the night of August 5th, 1962, everything changed. She was found dead in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. The official ruling came fast. A probable suicide caused by an overdose of sleeping pills. Some say it was exactly what the coroner called it, a tragic overdose by a woman struggling with depression and addiction. Others believe something much darker happened, a cover-up to silence Marilyn because of her rumored ties to some of the most powerful men in America. Before she became Marilyn Monroe, she was Norma Jean Mortensen, a little girl who grew up with more pain than stability. She was born on June 1st, 1926 in Los Angeles, California. Her birth certificate didn't list a father, and her mother, Gladys, struggled with serious mental health issues. That meant from the very beginning, Norma Jean's life was unstable. As a child, she was shuffled from foster home to foster home, and even spent time in an orphanage. Between 1935 and 1942, she lived in several different households. Her mother's struggles only made things harder. Gladys was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, unable to care for her daughter. With no father in the picture, Norma Jean became a ward of the state. By the time she was 16, Norma Jean faced a hard choice. Her foster care arrangement was ending, and she was about to be sent back to the orphanage. Desperate for security, she married her 21-year-old neighbor, James Dougherty. It wasn't a fairy tale romance, it was survival. Marriage gave her a roof over her head and a way to avoid the orphanage. But soon, life changed again. James joined the Merchant Marine during World War II and left California. Norma Jean stayed behind, working in a munitions factory to support herself and contribute to the war effort. And it was there, surrounded by machines and factory noise, that fate stepped in. A military photographer showed up to take pictures of women helping with the war effort. He noticed Norma Jean's natural beauty and asked to take her photo. That single moment set her life on a new path, one that would eventually transform Norma Jean into Marilyn Monroe. That one photograph inside a noisy wartime factory changed everything for Norma Jean. The image caught attention, and soon she was offered modeling opportunities. By 1945, she signed with a modeling agency. Within a year, her photos were everywhere. She quickly became one of the most popular pinup models in America. Modeling gave her something she had never known before: independence. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. But Norma Jean wanted more. She dreamed of being in movies. So in 1946, she signed her first studio contract with 20th Century Fox. This was a huge step, but it also came with a cost: her name. Studio executives thought Norma Jean Mortensen wasn't glamorous enough. They wanted something catchy, something that would sparkle on a movie poster. That's when Marilyn Monroe was born. Marilyn was inspired by Broadway star Marilyn Miller, and Monroe was her mother's maiden name. With her new name, Marilyn began landing small movie parts. Her first credited role was in Dangerous Years, 1947, where she played a waitress. Then, in 1950, something shifted. Marilyn appeared in The Asphalt Jungle, directed by John Huston. She played the mistress of a crooked lawyer. The role was brief, but critics noticed her. For the first time, Marilyn Monroe wasn't just another pretty blonde in the background. She had presence. Hollywood adored Marilyn Monroe's beauty but dismissed her talent, repeatedly casting her as the dumb blonde. Though audiences loved it, she longed to be seen as more than a pinup. Behind the glamour, Marilyn battled insomnia, panic attacks, and growing dependence on prescription drugs. Pills to sleep, pills to perform. The pressure, rejection, and harsh criticism cut deeply. Torn between her true self, Norma Jean, and the public image of Marilyn Monroe, she struggled to balance fame with authenticity. While the world saw her sparkle, inside she was unraveling under the unbearable weight of Hollywood's expectations. As Marilyn Monroe fought for respect in Hollywood, her personal life was just as stormy. She longed for love, stability, and a safe home, things she had never really known as Norma Jean. She tried to find that in marriage. In fact, Marilyn married 3 times, but each relationship ended in heartbreak. Marilyn Monroe's most famous marriage was to baseball star Joe DiMaggio in 1954. Joe, traditional and private, disliked her fame and revealing roles. Their biggest clash came after the iconic subway dress scene in The 7-Year Itch, which Joe saw as humiliating. Their relationship turned bitter amid jealousy, control, and reported abuse. After 9 months, Marilyn filed for divorce citing mental cruelty. Her struggles with addiction to pills and alcohol worsened, while rumors swirled about affairs with President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert. True or not, the scandals deepened the turmoil that shadowed her fragile life. By the early 1960s, Marilyn Monroe was living on the edge. Marilyn missed rehearsals, showed up late, and sometimes didn't show up at all. When she did appear, she looked exhausted and shaky. The studio grew furious. After weeks of problems, she was fired from the movie. Still, Marilyn wasn't done. She tried to pick herself back up. She made public appearances, including her unforgettable performance of Happy Birthday for President John F. Kennedy in May 1962. Just 3 months later, tragedy struck. On August 5, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home. She was only 36 years old. The official cause was listed as a probable suicide from a barbiturate overdose. The world was stunned. Fans who adored her couldn't believe she was gone. News of her death spread everywhere, front pages, TV screens, and radio broadcasts. Marilyn Monroe, the woman who had once seemed larger than life, had died far too young. Marilyn Monroe's death may have been ruled a probable suicide, but the story didn't end there. In fact, for many people, it was only the beginning. Almost immediately, rumors of a cover-up began to spread. Some believed powerful people were involved. Others thought the truth had been buried to protect reputations. Decades later, those same questions still remain. One of the strangest details was the autopsy. The coroner found high levels of sleeping pills in Marilyn's blood, but there were no pill capsules in her stomach. If she swallowed that many pills, why weren't there any traces? Some suggested she may have been given the drugs another way, like by injection, but no official investigation ever followed. Witnesses also added to the confusion. Her housekeeper changed her story several times over the years. At one point, she even hinted that she had been pressured to keep quiet. Police officers at the scene reported that things felt staged, as if the death didn't happen the way it was being described. And then came the political rumors. Many believed Marilyn's alleged relationships with John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy played a role in her death. Was she silenced because she knew too much? Was she threatening to go public about her connections with America's most powerful family? To this day, no one knows for sure. Even more than 60 years after her death, Marilyn's story continues to fascinate us. She represents both the glitter and the darkness of Hollywood, the dream that shines bright, but also the cost of living under the spotlight. And maybe that's why we're still talking about her today. Because Marilyn Monroe wasn't just a star. She was a mystery. And mysteries never really fade away.